Welcome to Stoic Today, where silence isn't retreat, but the unmistakable sign of awakened strength. You're not here by accident. You're here because somewhere deep inside, you're seeking something real peace that doesn't depend on praise and strength that doesn't need to shout to be seen. Thank you for being here. And if you're ready for a journey where stillness becomes your loudest voice, then subscribe to Stoic Today right now. In a world that worships volume, your silence becomes a sacred rebellion, a protest of peace, a declaration of self-control, a sanctuary for your soul. It's time to realize that true power isn't found in being loud enough to win the argument, but in being still enough to protect your peace, honor your purpose, and remain unshaken in the storm. There comes a time in life when your voice is no longer for noise, it's for meaning. In youth, you speak to be heard. You raise your voice to gain respect. Explain your heart. Defend your name. But with time, something sacred begins to rise in you. This season of life is not about explanation, it's about embodiment. You no longer need to shout your worth, it's visible in your presence, in your pace, in your peace. Your silence doesn't mean you've disappeared, it means you've arrived. Not for others, for yourself. Fully, deeply, and on your own terms. If these words stirred something inside, you don't just scroll by. I'd like this message to honor the season you're stepping into. Comment what you're learning about stillness and strength. And most importantly, subscribe to Stoic Today right now for powerful messages of healing, purpose, and timeless wisdom. Don't miss what's next, because what's coming isn't just content. It's your compass home, and perhaps the beginning of the life you've always known you were meant to live. Let's continue, John. You begin to understand that silence is not a punishment, it's a sanctuary. Silence is not the absence of strength, it is the presence of maturity. It is the mark of a soul that has walked through enough storms to know that peace is worth more than being right. You don't have to say everything you feel anymore. You don't have to comment on every situation or correct every wrong, because truth has a way of rising on its own. This season of your life isn't about explaining, it's about embodying. It's about honoring the wisdom you've earned, the healing you've fought for, and the peace you've protected. Your silence doesn't mean you're absent, it means you're finally present, on your terms. Introduction: the sacred shift to silence. And when you've lived long enough, you realize that some things are not worth your breath. Some people will never understand your silence, but that doesn't make it any less powerful. In fact, sometimes silence speaks louder than any words could. You've already said enough over the years. You've pleaded, you've taught, you've warned, and if they still don't get it, then maybe it's not for them to get. This season of your life isn't about explaining, it's about embodying. It's about honoring the wisdom you've earned, the healing you've fought for, and the peace you've protected. Your silence doesn't mean you're absent, it means you're finally present, on your terms. In old age, you don't need the validation of noise. You don't need the spotlight. You don't need the arguments, the applause, or the attention. You need peace. You need clarity. You need stillness. You need moments where it's just you and God, where you don't have to explain yourself or defend your heart. And let me tell you, that's where the real power is. That's where wisdom is born. This season of your life isn't about explaining, it's about embodying. It's about honoring the wisdom you've earned, the healing you've fought for, and the peace you've protected. Your silence doesn't mean you're absent, it means you're finally present, on your terms.
Selfish. It's necessary. You can love people and still leave them alone. You can pray for people and still walk away, because peace is not something you stumble into. It's something you guard with intention. You've spent so many years giving, haven't you? Giving your strength, your wisdom, your compassion, your patience. And while some received it with gratitude, others drained it without mercy. Some people didn't come to grow with you, they came to take from you. And it took you years to understand that just because someone needs you doesn't mean they're meant to stay in your life. Some people are lessons, not lifelong assignments. And at this stage in life, you don't have time to be drained. You don't have time to argue. You don't have time to explain your heart to those who are committed to misunderstanding you. You've got to protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Not everyone is qualified to sit at your table. You don't owe everyone a seat. You don't have to let just anybody into your atmosphere. When your spirit is clean, you become sensitive to anything that disrupts it. That's why your silence increases. That's why your circle gets smaller. That's why you feel better when you're alone than when you're around noise. It's not that you become bitter, it's that you become careful. Don't waste your energy trying to fix people who enjoy being broken. Don't exhaust yourself trying to prove your loyalty to those who never intended to value it. If they can't see your worth now, they never will. And if they walked away, let them. At this point, chasing people is beneath you. Trying to convince them is behind you. You're not in the business of begging anymore. You're in the business of protecting what God has placed inside of you. You are not obligated to carry what no longer belongs to you. Some burdens are not yours to bear. Some conversations are not yours to continue. And some relationships are not yours to maintain. That doesn't mean you're cold. It means you're wise. You've lived long enough to know that peace is more valuable than company. And peace never comes from pleasing everyone. It comes from pleasing God and aligning your life with what's true. You see, when you stop letting people drain your energy, you start getting stronger. You stop feeling tired all the time. You start sleeping better. You start smiling more because now you're not carrying what was never yours. Now you're letting God handle what you used to stress about. And trust me, He's better at dealing with them than you ever were. There's a freedom that comes with letting go, and you've earned that freedom. Your older years are not a time to tolerate chaos. They're a time to build calm. They're a time to sit quietly, breathe deeply, and enjoy the fruit of your endurance. You've walked through fire. You've stayed when others ran. You've been faithful when it cost you. And now you deserve peace. You deserve moments where no one is pulling at you. You deserve relationships that don't require explanation. You deserve rest, not just for your body, but for your soul. And if that means letting go of some people, so be it. If that means staying quiet instead of responding, let it be so. If that means fewer phone calls, fewer invitations, fewer conversations, then let it be. Because protecting your peace means prioritizing your healing. And healing doesn't come from noise. It comes from stillness. It comes from silence. It comes from knowing who you are in God and not letting anyone disturb that. You've poured into so many. Now it's time to pour into yourself. You've helped so many people stand. Now it's time to stand for your own peace. And anyone who doesn't honor that doesn't deserve to stay. There's a quiet kind of freedom that comes when you stop expecting people to be who you hope they would be. As you grow older, you begin to understand that expectations, especially the ones you've silently carried for years, can become heavy chains around your heart. You expected loyalty from those you loved deeply. You expected understanding from the ones you stood by. You expected support, honesty, patience, and maybe even a little effort. But sometimes life doesn't return the love you gave, and that's when you reach a crossroads, not one of bitterness, but of release. You come to a place where you say, I'm done waiting for people to change. I'm done trying to be seen, trying to be heard, trying to be chosen. And in that moment, something sacred happens inside of you. You shift from living for others to finally living for yourself. Not in a selfish way, but in a healed way. A whole way. A way that says, my joy is not up for negotiation. My peace is not dependent on anyone else's approval. You've spent so many years giving your heart away in pieces. You gave your best to people who only wanted your presence, but never your soul. And that hurt you. It shaped you. But it also taught you that you can't keep giving everything away and expect to feel whole. So in this season of life, you're allowed to hold something back. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to choose yourself not out of pride, but out of wisdom. You don't need permission to focus on your healing. You don't need applause to validate your peace. You don't need company just to fill a room. What you need now is solitude with purpose. You need quiet mornings where you thank God for another day. You need time to reflect on what you've survived, what you've overcome, and who you've become. You've been through enough fire to know that joy doesn't come from people. It comes from within, from peace with your past, from grace in your present, from hope for your future. You see, when you let go of expectations, you make room for reality. You stop fantasizing about who people could become, and you start accepting them for who they are. And that acceptance is not defeat, it's liberation. Because now you're not trying to change people. You're not clinging. You're not waiting. You're walking forward. You're choosing joy even if they never apologize. You're choosing peace. Even if they never come back, you're choosing life. Even if you have to walk it alone sometimes. Letting go is not giving up. It's growing up. It's realizing that your happiness is not found in someone else's hands. It's found in the quiet decisions you make every day to honor your own heart, to respect your own journey, to say, I matter too. So now you don't beg, you don't chase. You don't try to fit where you were never meant to belong. You don't make excuses for bad behavior. And you don't shrink to keep others comfortable. You've been through too much to keep dimming your light for people who never appreciated it. Now you shine unapologetically. You speak less love deeper and live freer. And that freedom didn't come cheap. It came through pain, through loneliness, through lessons that broke your heart wide open. But it was worth it because now you're no longer living to be loved. You're living because you are loved by the one who never left, never lied, never let you down. So stop waiting for people to meet you at the level of your love. They may never get there. And that's okay. You don't need them to because now you've got something greater than approval. You've got peace. You've got wisdom. You've got God. And with that, you have everything. One of the greatest realizations you will ever come to, especially in your later years, is that peace doesn't always come with answers. Sometimes peace comes when you finally stop needing to know why. Why they left, why they changed, why they never said sorry, why life turned out the way it did. For a long time, you carried those questions in your heart, like stones, heavy, silent, always present. You wanted closure. You wanted explanation. You wanted something to make the pain make sense. But the truth is, some things never will. And that's where faith steps in. Because faith doesn't say, I understand. Faith says, I trust. Even when it hurts, even when it's confusing, even when the silence is deafening. And in this season of your life, trust becomes more than a word. It becomes your anchor. Because when you've walked through storms that didn't kill you but changed you, you start to lean on something deeper than answers. You lean on the one who held you through it all, even when you didn't understand what he was doing. You see, peace isn't found in having everything figured out. It's found in surrendering what you can't fix. It's found in placing your questions in God's hands and saying, even if I never get the explanation, I'll still move forward. Even if they never make it right, I'll still forgive. Even if I never understand, I'll still believe you've got me. That's not weakness, that's power. That's what it means to be strong in your spirit even when your heart still aches. There are some people who will never apologize and you've got to forgive them anyway. There are some wounds that won't come with an explanation and you've got to heal anyway. There are some endings that won't give you closure and you've got to move on anyway because peace doesn't come from people. It comes from God. It's a gift you choose to open even when nothing around you makes sense. You've cried enough. You've wrestled with why long enough. You've replayed conversations in your head, trying to find the moment things shifted. But now it's time to release it. Not because it didn't matter, but because your peace matters more. Because you can't carry the weight of what you'll never understand and expect to walk freely into the life ahead of you. Sometimes closure isn't something others give you. It's something you decide for yourself. You look at what hurt you. You breathe. You forgive. You let it go. And you do it for your own soul, not theirs. You've got to stop waiting for them to come back and make it right. You've got to stop hoping one day you'll finally get the explanation that soothes your heart. That moment may never come, and that's okay, because peace isn't waiting for them to fix it. Peace is you fixing your eyes on what's still good, what's still possible, what's still beautiful in your life, and there's still so much. God doesn't need you to have all the answers. He just needs your heart open enough to keep trusting, keep breathing, keep walking, even through the questions, even through the silence. He's not afraid of your confusion. He's not offended by your heartbreak. He just wants you to know he's still in control, and he never wastes pain. Even the parts that make no sense now will someday become the testimony you never saw coming. So if you're sitting in a season where nothing adds up, where your soul a lake is for clarity, but all you have is quiet, don't run from it. Don't drown it out with noise. Sit with it. Let it teach you. Let it shape you. And then release it. Not everything is meant to be understood, but everything can be surrendered. And when you surrender, that's when peace finally flows in like a river, steady, calm, quiet. In the quiet seasons of your life, when the crowds have faded and the noise of the world doesn't call to you like it once did, you begin to realize something that only time and experience can teach your peace is sacred. And not everyone deserves access to it. You start seeing people differently, not with anger, but with clarity. You recognize that some folks were only in your life because you kept opening the door. You were the one always calling, always checking, always showing up, but not anymore. Now you've learned to preserve your peace, even if it means protecting it from people you once loved. It's not pride. It's not bitterness. It's wisdom. You can't keep handing out pieces of your heart to people who never took care of it. You can't keep watering relationships that never tried to grow with you. You've grown too much. You've been through too much. And now you're finally learning how to guard your space. Because peace, true peace, isn't found in being surrounded by people. It's found in knowing who to let close and who to let go. It's okay to step back. It's okay to become unavailable, not because you're angry, because you finally found something worth protecting. Your energy, your sanity, your joy. You spent years being everything to everybody. You've worn yourself thin, trying to keep connections alive that only drained you in return. And now it's different. Now you're learning how to love from a distance. How to bless people without having to carry them. How to forgive without having to react. That's not cold. That's called maturity. See, people often confuse kindness with access. They think just because you're gentle, you'll always be available. Just because you're loving, you'll always be reachable. But no, there comes a time when you stop explaining yourself. You stop making excuses for why you're protecting your peace. You stop letting guilt trick you into being present in spaces that feel heavy, because the truth is, peace costs what it costs. And you've already paid enough in the past to know that not everyone should be invited into your future. You've been in rooms where your spirit felt uneasy. You've had conversations that left you feeling smaller. You've tried to make things work with people who never once met you halfway. And still you gave. You showed up. You believed. But not anymore. Not now. Now you're guarding your soul like a treasure. You're not closing your heart. You're just being careful who you open it to. Because when you start protecting your peace, you start recognizing what peace really feels like. Peace is not being surrounded by a lot of voices. It's having the right voice inside of you.
That still small voice that says, you don't have to stay where your soul feels tired. That holy whisper that reminds you you're not responsible for fixing everyone. That voice that says, it's okay to choose yourself this time. And when you hear that voice, you listen, you follow. You trust that protecting your peace is not isolation. This season of your life isn't about explaining. It's about embodying. It's about honoring the wisdom you've earned, the healing you've fought for, and the peace you've protected. Your silence doesn't mean you're absent. It means you're finally present on your terms. It's preparation. Preparation for the next chapter. Preparation for what God is doing in you. Even if it means letting go of what no longer fits around you, you're not rejecting people. You're just respecting yourself. You're not turning your back on anyone. You're just turning your face toward what brings life. This season of your life isn't about explaining. It's about embodying. It's about honoring the wisdom you've earned, the healing you've fought for, and the peace you've protected. Your silence doesn't mean you're absent. It means you're finally present on your terms. And the beautiful thing is, when you start doing that, peace becomes your home. Not a feeling you chase, not a moment you borrow, but a foundation you stand on. You don't owe anyone access to your peace. You don't have to explain the boundaries you've set. You don't have to apologize for needing space. If they don't understand it, that's okay. This season of your life isn't about explaining. It's about embodying. It's about honoring the wisdom you've earned, the healing you've fought for, and the peace you've protected. Your silence doesn't mean you're absent, it means you're finally present on your terms. If they choose to walk away, let them. If they choose to speak against you, forgive them. But never lower your standards, your values, or your emotional guard just to make others feel more comfortable in your presence. Because once you've fought for your peace, you realize it's not something you can afford to surrender. You begin to understand that peace is not simply the absence of conflict or noise. It is the presence of God, the shield of wisdom, and the priceless reward of a soul that has finally healed. This chapter of your life is not about explaining your choices, proving your worth, or defending your growth. No. This season is about embodying everything you've become quietly, confidently, and completely on your own terms. It's about honoring the wisdom you bled to gain, the healing you refused to postpone, and the peace you now carry like sacred armor. Your silence doesn't make you invisible. It makes you intentional. It makes you rooted. It means you've stopped reacting to every noise and started aligning with what truly matters. And yes, some people can only walk with you for a season. Their exit isn't a sign of your failure. It's a symbol of your freedom. You're not losing them. You're liberating yourself. If this message spoke to your soul, don't just keep it inside. I'll like this post. If you're choosing to protect your peace over pleasing others, comment how you're embracing silence, strength, and spiritual clarity in this season. And most importantly, subscribe to Stoic today right now, because you've earned your peace. Now it's time to protect it fiercely, guard it wisely, and walk in it boldly. This message isn't just reflection, it's fuel for your transformation, so don't scroll past. Listen closely, soak it in, and let it lead you into the calm, clear, powerful life you are always meant to live. Your journey continues on the next page.